some good detailed information. If you have a pen handy or pencil handy or you want to type some of it in. If not, you can always request the slides from me and I will give my email address and a couple of slides. And without further ado, we'd like to start on time. I know everybody would. Let's get to it. Get more opens with great subject lines. We'll probably have about 35, 40 minutes of content, and then we'll take questions at the end. There we go. People open email for about two reasons. And here's a sample of an email from the Concord Cheese Shop. Emails are permission-based, and it's not the subject line that you're looking at is not a bad subject line, but it's not doing too much to inspire me to want to open email. Regardless, I opened the email because I knew who they were. I opened the email because of the relationship that I have with the business. For many individuals, businesses, and organizations, getting someone to open your email starts by building and having a relationship that's engaging to them in the first place. That's why your from name is so important. 42% of people look at the from or sender name first before deciding to open the email. To start, you've got to make sure your from information is recognizable to your audience. Then, the subject line is what should pique their interest and let them know what to expect in the email. So today we're going to give you some tips and examples to try. But the results will ultimately come down to how well you know your audience and the relationship you have with them. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to start out by talking about the basics, what makes a good subject line. Then we're going to talk about some trends that we're seeing in the subject lines. And last, we're going to talk about some ideas for getting creative. I'm Vito Kukuru. I'm the owner of Consult Vito. We are a marketing agency helping with everything from social media to tracking to data and analytics. We work with small to medium-sized businesses. We work project to project. We work retainer. We work by the hour. That is my email address. If you're interested in getting the slides after this presentation, I will happily mail them to you in PDF form. That is also my phone number, and I am the VP of Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce on the board. This information is being presented to you by Constant Contact and the Chamber of Commerce. And with that in mind, please ask any questions that you'd like answered about email, or if you have any questions about marketing in general. And as someone who's on the board of the chamber, I do offer some discovery sessions where we can talk about your marketing, your branding, etc., at no charge. Okay. Subject lines and pre-header text are, well, the inbox is a busy place, and many people are reading emails on mobile. That means your subject line and pre-header text needs to be short and sweet. People are scanning their inbox and making quick decisions, so you need to get to the point across, get your point across and catch their attention right away. The pre-header text is what shows up directly below or after the subject line in the inbox. The pre-header text is almost like a second subject line that you can use to catch your audience's attention. We suggest using it as an extension of your subject line. The pre-header text typically pulls in the first line of text that's in the body of your email. In Constant Contact, it's a separate field so you can better control the text that people will see in that area. And today we're going to talk about many different examples and tips that you can try in your subject line. It's important to know that these same tips and ideas can be applied to your pre-header text. And there are a few email programs that don't show the pre-header text, and we still suggest filling in that pre-header text field, because a lot of people will receive that. Otherwise, you'll be missing out on the opportunity to provide a little more insight on why people should open your email. It's a common question, so I wanted to make sure we address it up front. How long should a subject line be? Well, because of all this, you want your subject line to be about 4 to 7 words. The length of the pre-header text matters too, and for this, we suggest using 5 to 8 words. With all of this in mind, I want to suggest that you really think about the first 2 words. People read from left to right, and if they're scanning, having your most important words first can certainly help. So Because we have a limited amount of space and time, that also means that there are a few things we recommend to avoid. I often see a lot of marketers putting the company name in the subject line. We don't recommend this. It's already in your from name field and even email address if you're sending it from your own domain. It can be too repetitive and takes up room for other wording that could push people to open. Another thing that I naturally see is the word newsletter, and then also a date, something along the lines that we see here. And I think people can become immune to seeing this month after month. After this, I will send everyone my email newsletter, and you can see how I format mine. And then obviously that might help, or you could respond and I can help you with yours. So give people a reason to open your email. Pique curiosity. Show your email's relevance to them. Using the word newsletter can be too cliche and won't help you stand out from the crowd of other emails people receive. So feature one of the topics in your subject line. If possible, use the highest priority or most exciting topic within the email to really drive interest. I've also seen a lot of wasted space with pre-header text and subject line combined. So keep those two fields in mind. Some examples will repeat or have a very similar phrase in both the subject line and pre-header fields. Or they'll say something like view message in a browser, add us to safe sender, which isn't adding any value that entices people to want to open the email. View the subject and pre-header text together to make sure they're enticing for people to open. Make sure they accent each other. And a great way to find out is by using our preview feature and sending yourself a test. Now let's talk a little bit about some simple ideas for subject lines. One idea could be to make your readers laugh. Another, incorporate numbers. Numbers attract attention as our brains are naturally drawn to digits. So try something such as 5 tips, or 5 different ways, or 5 things to know. Another great idea is to be inquisitive and ask your readers a question, such as, are your investments working for your business? With this one, you'll notice that in mobile, the subject line gets cut off. So I'd suggest rewriting the subject to say, are your investments working? And if this were me, I'd also probably rewrite the pre-header text too. Make it shorter to say 3 questions to maximize returns. That fits it better in the mobile view. You can also try to pull at their heartstrings by using an emotional subject line, like take 5 minutes to help animals in need. This is going to be really important for those who have nonprofits. However, many for-profit businesses can use this too, especially when you start thinking about holiday promotions or celebrations with loved ones. And this one's a bit longer, so I would suggest making it more concise by eliminating any unnecessary words or rephrasing, such as take 5 minutes to help. Another option is to create a sense of urgency for a fear of missing out. An example here is last chance to register by Friday, where they are trying to get people to register for a training. For this example, I recommend changing the pre-header text so it's not saying something so similar. Try a pre-header that says classes are almost full. Now these are simple and pretty straightforward, and I've seen some that turn out to be great performing emails. Are there any other straightforward subject lines that you've seen that get really good results? Well, here's some examples. Fear of missing out, such as, uh-oh, your subscription is expiring. Curiosity, such as 9 facts about the housing market. Or a vanity subject line, such as age-defying beauty tricks. Because your subject line will change for every email, let's take a look at some different types of emails and subject lines we've seen. For welcome emails, we've seen some of these. And many of these, again, are straightforward and say thank you, and they make people feel welcome. The first one says, a thank you for our subscribers. For those of you who entice people to sign up to your list with a gift or some sort of offer, you might put something about it in the subject line, like the second example. Enjoy your coupon. We can't wait to see you. For birthday and anniversary celebration emails, you might just want to say, happy birthday, Stephanie. This one's on us. And then for anniversaries, you can, of course, celebrate a wedding or membership anniversary. But in this instance, it's a yearly reminder to renew their membership. Your membership runs out February 7th, renew today. Here's a few examples for offers and promotional emails that you might send. The first one celebrates a national holiday with Celebrate National Oyster Day beginning August 4th. And then the second one is trying to make their audience feel special with the phrase email exclusive, and then letting people know when blueberry picking starts. Now, these are some examples that the team has shared from their inboxes, but I would like to shorten these so they show better on mobile. One thing I want to note with your offers and promotions is to be careful with the frequent use of percentage and dollar off amounts in the subject line. Your audience might become immune to seeing those in your emails. Plus, well, your audience likely sees a ton of these in their inbox every day. In some instances, I think people could be seeing too many of these, so they try and find a way to rephrase it like we see here. People obviously don't like getting sold to all the time, so instead of using a discount, focus on the benefit the item service will give to them and change it up. Let's talk about event emails. There's a variety of different emails that can fall into this category. Of course, there are save the date emails you could send, invitation reminders so they don't forget, and then after the event follow ups. First example is a save the date for the event and let people know they can save on tickets. The second one says, OMG, last chance to save on tickets. And for a lot of B2Bs, this can feel like breaking the rules. B2B subject lines tend to be very formal and basic, but using silly wording like OMG or boom shakalaka, let's get started, can really spice things up and attract attention. I think you just really need to think about your brand, your personality, and the audience you are sending to, because you may be surprised about how stepping out of the box can really help you. Now, some of the other phrases you might want to think about for event emails that aren't represented are don't forget, register today, or even don't miss out. For some event emails, you want to try to invoke a fear of missing out and even some urgency. There are tons of other types of emails you can send, but let's lump all of these next examples into the category for helpful emails that provide value to the subscribers. The first one is referencing a helpful white paper for nonprofits on fundraising. It says, New white paper, explore the ROI of peer-to-peer fundraising. Now, this is another example of a subject that maybe is a little long. I would probably remove the first words in brackets and try ROI of peer-to-peer fundraising. The second talks about 8 healthy foods that can prevent weight loss. I want to give a special shout out to some specific nonprofit examples. For nonprofits, your subject lines can especially pull at your subscribers' heartstrings. There have been a few that have already been sprinkled throughout the examples you've seen, but here are just a few more nonprofit examples. From a shelter, there's a thanks for adopting subject line and some personalization of the cat's name that was adopted. And I love that subject line. I would revise the pre-header text to say something else. I don't know about the exact topic of the body of the email, but if they were including some new pet activities, I'd say something short about that in the pre-header. The last one's from more of a newsletter that focused on one of the articles that was a success story of someone they've helped. And I want to point out that pre-text header that you see here. Unless you're on this email list, the pre-header wouldn't make sense. The taste, an annual event that they run to benefit the food bank. So this part really goes back to that relationship that you've built with your subscribers. Big tip, everyone doesn't like this, don't be misleading or deceptive. At this point, you've seen a variety of good examples, but it's also important to talk about some don'ts for your subject line. And according to anti-spam laws around the world, your subject lines can't be misleading or deceptive. And now I know you're not intentionally being deceptive, but sometimes email marketers try to get really creative and they don't realize how a subject line could be misleading. And if people feel misled about opening your email, there's a chance that they'll mark your email spam, which is not something we want to happen. So let's take a look at some of the things not to do. Don't try to imply a continuing conversation just to get people to open by adding the abbreviations for forward or reply. Watch out for urgency. Sometimes people make an email sound more urgent than it actually is. So there's a balance on urgency. Another example is when a subject line is deceptive about the reader's actions. I've seen some examples where people use April Fools and use a subject line that implies that someone took an action before they didn't actually take. And these are the types of things that can make people feel misled by you. You want to build trust and credibility with them. Common triggers for spam filters. People often ask about how to avoid spam filters. Well, first, you want to make sure that you're building your list the right way and not actually spamming people. You don't want people to mark you as spam. You also want to avoid doing some things that can trigger it to land in a spam filter. And you can also scan your spam and junk filters every once in a while to see what is landing in there. So let's just avoid some of the common things you'll see here. And here's a visual of the junk folder in an inbox. There's some real spam in here as well as a few from real senders. So common triggers for spam. Words like free, guarantee, and spam, writing in all caps and excessive punctuation. And along those same lines, real spammers tend to use a lot of dirty words, which also means that spam filters have evolved to have dirty minds and look for words within words or even phrases that could be misconstrued. Here's an example that was shared by one of our solution providers. They sent an email for a client and noticed that the email was blocked by a large majority of inboxes. It had this subject line: you want your HVAC system to last longer? Regular maintenance is key. And that seems fairly innocent. Well, they did some testing, and by eliminating one word at a time, determined that the phrase last longer was causing the email to land in the spam folder for many of the client's customers. So they resent the email with a new subject line and saw much better deliverability. This is the subject line they used. Regular maintenance is the key to a healthy system. Another thing I want you to keep in mind that every spam filter is different. So if you're seeing some issues, it's best to get in touch with our support team at Constant Contact so they can help you to determine what the issue is. Here's the next thing to think about. Let's move on to take a look at some trends that we're seeing in the inbox with subject lines. Making it personal. One of the things that we're seeing overall in marketing, of course, is personalization. There are a few things you can do to make your subject line feel personal to catch your subscribers' attention. Using you or your and personalizing with their first name. One stat we found is that when the first word in your subject line is you or your, open rates increase significantly. For business to business stats, they show an increase of 20%, and for business to consumer company emails, the increase rates go up to 22%. The first example says, are your Google ads not showing? Well, this could be why. And another stat we found that showing a subscriber's name in the subject line can boost open rates by 2.6%. The second example combines the subscriber's name with the word your to make it feel personal by saying, Rachel, your personalized concert lineup is here. Depending on the topic of your email, you can also personalize the subject line by adding in other details that are known about your subscribers to make it relevant. Although these subject lines are a little long, especially for viewing on mobile, but remember, it all goes back to the three things that people see in the inbox that play a role in getting people to open your email: the from name, subject, and pre-header text. Together, they're going to have the biggest impact. Now let's talk a little bit about emojis, another emerging trend. The use of emojis, and well, you see it a lot right now, and there's a lot of questions and even some hesitance about them. Some marketers feel that they might increase spam filtering or even feel that they might not be appropriate for the audience. Based on the research Constant Contact has done, subject lines that trigger spam filters are using the same top emojis. That means that the subject lines themselves are likely to trigger, not the emojis. If you have a good subject line, adding a good supporting emoji can make the subject line a little better. But if your subject line is already filled with bad spam words and that could get those triggers, well, adding an emoji can only make it worse. One study we found shows emojis increase the open rate 60% of the time versus the same subject line with no emoji. Emojis can help you stand out in the inbox and help you convey an emotion or feeling, so it is something to try. Now, it's important to know that emojis will not work for every business or industry or even every email you send. You may find that your audience doesn't understand them or it just doesn't work with your messages. Other examples are, well, one that specifically worked was a diet wellness company that was promoting their diet and added a banana emoji and an apple emoji. And they really accented their message. I would avoid using, for instance, a siren or flashing light emoji if the urgency isn't there, because that can be deceiving. Testing the use of emojis and other ideas. We suggest testing the use of emojis and really any of these ideas we've shared today. That's where the A/B testing comes in. An A/B test allows you to write two different subject lines within the same email and see which performs better. If you have constant contact in the email plus package, this is a feature that'll split your list automatically so you can test the different subject lines. To test the use of it, you can write two different, one with an emoji and one without. For the other ideas we talked about today, you might write a straightforward subject line for the first one, and then try one of the other ideas for the second subject line. So conveying emotions or feelings with emojis. Let's take a look at some subject lines that have emojis. The first example includes 3 different emojis to talk about recipes. The second one asks a question and includes the eyes, which caught my attention about their offer for free shipping. The last one used the camera emoji to support their email about a photo contest. So you can see using emojis can support your message. You want to keep it on message and make it consistent with your message if it's something that you do want to try. So best practices. Don't use the same emoji every time. Don't use them in every subject line, and make sure it supports your message. And I think this goes back to thinking about the brand personality that you want to convey, considering the type of email you're sending as well. And brand personality is very important. My agency, for a small fee, we could do a whole brand exercise to help you understand, build your brand, do a SWOT, understand your target audience, go through your personas, and use some of the top branding practices that are used around the world. And you don't have to do an enormous exercise, but get to know your brand personality. Think of it as an extension of your business and how people are going to see who you are. And I do want to note that not all devices and programs, email programs, they're not all consistent when they're rendering emojis. These emojis may show up as a different color or even change shape a bit, and for some, they won't show up at all. I want to suggest that you send some test emails to see how it displays to a few different email programs to make sure they are still supporting your message. In Constant Contact, you can purchase an add-on called Inbox Preview, but what a lot of people will do is they'll have accept the email through a Chrome, through an Outlook, through a Firefox. They'll log into these different emails that they have, or the same email on different platforms to see how it's showing up. Or you also would want to look at your phone. Testing the use of brackets. Here's another trend. You see more and more of it. Subject lines are using brackets. It's a way to put focus on a word or small phrase to make it stand out. You see it a lot lately in the B2B industry to focus on words like guide or ebook or webinar or something similar. Or it could be a video, such as our potluck was a hit, or it could be information about a new law homeowners should know about. So let's take a look at some examples. The first one uses brackets to say, new webinar, how to transform your webinar into an endless supply of content. With this example, let's point out that pre-header text isn't very informative, so don't let the pre-header text be determined by the content in your email like this, as I mentioned before. The second example is from a company that helps nonprofits. This subject line uses the word reminder in brackets and then says webinar on Wednesday, turning #GivingTuesday donors into recurring donors. Most marketers are putting the brackets at the beginning of the subject line, but again, just do some testing. Gmail and mobile devices, in particular, truncate bracketed words at the beginning if there are no longer than 6 characters. So keep in mind that if you plan to do this, test it with your audience. All right, so let's get some tips for getting creative with your subject lines. Alliteration. You've seen many examples today where being straightforward with your subject line can be effective. I recommend you try to be pretty straightforward in your subject line for the most part, but I do think there are some opportunities where you might want to spice things up. You can put a focus on a special promotion or featured content, but most of all, you don't want to look like you're trying too hard. And don't forget about testing. Along with everything else, when you want to try something, and make sure that you're testing out sets of ideas as you go. The first idea is alliteration, where you'll repeat the same first letter for each word. Now, the eye tends to look for patterns, which could potentially help your email stand out in the inbox. I find these really hard to come up with, so if you come up with the right words, it might be something to try. But here's a few examples. 6 seasonal saving secrets, top trends to try today. The next creative idea to think about is chunking, where you won't even write a sentence. It kind of feels like you're breaking the rules on this one, and if you're struggling with subject lines that are too long, it can help to keep things short, but also stand out because it won't be following the normal sentence structure. So in this first example, we can see that there are new clothing items that they've just added and how they separated them out with periods. The second one uses the plus and equal symbols to create a chunking effect that way and really stands out to me. The next one we're going to take a look at is allusion. It's when you refer to pop culture or famous lines. The first example is for a candy store, referencing back to that famous line in Forrest Gump. The next one says, "We know what you did yesterday," referencing that movie from the 90s. Now, this subject line actually referenced a sale the day before, and the email was asking the customer to provide feedback on their experience. Now, on allusion, this one can get tricky, so you want to make sure your audience will understand what you're referring to. Make sure that the allusion is understood by the generation you're sending it to. A cult classic that isn't widely known could confuse people, and with the fractured media audience, as we all know, and with there's so many different choices to be entertained with, allusion can be a tricky one to use these days. Next thing we want to talk about are power words. Remember how the first few words of the subject are most important? Well, a power word at the beginning could help you to stand out. Power words help you trigger a psychological or emotional response from your email message, and they can help you to persuade your audience to do something. Power words typically fall into a few different categories, and here on the screen we have just 4 different categories. There's many other categories, and if you go do a Google search and put in power words for email, you will get a long, long list. One of the big things to think about for power words is thinking about emotion. Things like remarkable body transformation, thinking about that response that you want from your subscribers. So at this point, I want to recap a couple things. Remember the importance of your relationship with your subscribers. Start with a solid from name. Change your subject line for each email to make it relevant to the content of your email message. And don't forget the pre-header text. Always use it as an extension of your subject line. Next, straightforward subject lines work great. Start to try out the use of your contacts' names and even emojis to see if they can increase your open rates. And last but not least, you've got some more creative ideas to try with your audience. Try alliteration, allusion, and even chunking to make your subject line stand out. And don't forget about the use of power words at the beginning to try and trigger a psychological, emotional response from your subscribers. Continually try new ideas so you can see what works for your audience. I have a lot of clients who get stuck on one type of subject line, and that can be very difficult to break them out. But you want to keep trying. Remember, if it didn't work this month, you can try something else next month and look at those clicks, look at that open rate for everything that you've done. Also want to talk a little bit about people have brought us all this great content. And this content, some people ask me, well, how do they know what we're discussing today? Well, obviously, Constant Contact has thousands and thousands of companies who use them as an email platform, and they take all of the learnings, and that's how we get some of this content. So I want to talk a little bit about what Constant Contact has to offer. There's the email product. There's a website product now that will build websites for you. Constant Contact also can help build your logos, can do social advertising on things like Facebook and Instagram, and can also help you with your social media. So there's a lot of new products that people don't necessarily realize Constant Contact has. As a preferred provider, I have taken the training. I can explain to you what may be best for you. I can answer any questions you might be having. I know a lot of people sometimes have issues building they don't know all the features that can be used in Constant Contact. And again, this is me. If you're interested in the slides, you can just email me there. That's my website, consultvito.com. That's my email. That's my phone. And this content is brought to you by Constant Contact and the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. I am the vice president of the board there and willing to, on behalf of the board as a service and of course as my agency, we do social media, we do marketing, we do digital, help you with all of that. Do offer discovery session, hour or so, maybe two, just to talk about your business, give you some free tips, some free resources that you might want to use, and just provide sort of a sounding board and to give you information that you might not be using, products and services you might not understand, and just kind of give business owners and people who are in marketing positions some assistance. If you sign up today, I do have a URL that if you do sign up and you're interested in a free trial, it's there. And I want to thank everybody for joining and appreciate everyone's time. Now, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask any questions about email. If you have any questions about marketing or anything like that, I'm certainly open to providing any information you might need. I see someone has asked a question about trying to break through those spam filters, and oftentimes it's a little bit out of your control. As an example, we have some people in the parks department that we send emails to from the Chamber of Commerce, and we've had to actually call them to give us permission to send to that spam filter because they have it set so high. But you don't want to trigger it with spam words, and you don't want to trigger it with the wrong types of subject lines. Okay. Oh, what we consider successful open rates. So successful open rates, if you go to Constant Contact, there is actually a chart by industry as to what average open rates are. So they vary depending on your business type. If you want to email me after, I can send you that link if you can't find it. But there are industry standard average open rates that Constant Contact provides. I don't think the other email platform, I think MailChimp might also have a list. They're all pretty similar, but there are standards. Also, if you sign up with Constant Contact, you can look at the performance of your email, all the metrics against the industry. Next question, if you were to do a test of 2 different subject lines, how many would you suggest sending the test to be able to judge its success or failure? So it's a great question. You can do I suggest 3 different approaches. One, maybe 20% of test 1, 20% of test 2. Now you've got your 40% of your audience has seen message A, 40% seen message B. Look for the winner and send it to the rest of the 60%. You could try and make it just the one whole message test, so 50% and 50%, and then the following month, you'll know which one as directional to make the next subject line. Or you can just send 1 month to the next month, testing out, well, I want to see how it performs this month in terms of emojis versus next month, no emojis. I would suggest doing the 20-20 gets you 40% test, and then picking the winner and sending it to the rest of the 60. Or you can vary those percentages, but you want the good message obviously to be sent to the most people, but you want to give them both a fair chance. Is it wasted to make subject lines have too many of these techniques in one? The biggest message I would say to take from this is the length, the number of words in the subject line. And I say that because a lot of people have their emails set to split screen. So on the left, it'll have all the emails running down, and on the right, it'll give you a preview of the email. But some people just have it straight down and they're only seeing the pre-header and the subject line. So those are really where you're going to want to stand out. You want to have the message captured in those 4 to 7 words and those 5 to 8 words. That to me becomes probably the most important. And then the next technique that I would really think about is making sure those 2 work together and allude to that top messages in there. So giving them a tease what's happening. I haven't used emojis in my email newsletters, and it's just not something that I think fits with my brand and my personality. So I don't actually use emojis in text messages either. So can you overdo the personalized name? Boy, I'm glad that question came up. So there's a couple of things on the personalization. Some people go overboard, and the danger is if you don't have a first name and a last name for every single subscriber, then obviously there's going to be blank fields, and they're going to they might put in the email address depending on which email platform you're using, or somebody may have filled it out inaccurately or on purpose inaccurately and give it a funny name as a first name. So collecting that data becomes important. And do you trust that the person has, when you collected the data, how did you collect that? I think the personalization can be overdone. So generally, I don't send out things that are personalized. I know that it increases open rates. But the you and your, I think, is effective. And the 5 tips is very effective. And the 5 tips for content generation is another big way to increase your blog and your content generation is to give those numbers: 1, 3, 5, 7. The top way, 3 ways, 5 ways, 7 ways. Those tend to resonate with people. Once you get to 9, 11, 13, top 20, you have to kind of get there between 9 and 20. A lot of those numbers don't necessarily resonate, but people overdo with personalization. I think it starts to put people off because they start to get a feeling that you know them too well. Now, if you do know them very well, then that's something else. If you have a free weekly Zoom class to pull people, how would you email this out so it doesn't get old and ignored? Is the Zoom class the same content every time? I guess if you can, okay. Yeah, so to promote a free weekly Zoom class, what I would do is have in your email communication the next 5, the dates and the links to register. And then as you go to the next one, that one comes off. And if you're recording it on a YouTube channel, put in the second box. So I have 3 sections, and that's another part of how to write effective emails, usually no more than 3 to 5 points. The top box I would have featuring this week's. The next box I would have the next 5 in a row. And then underneath that box, if you've recorded them, to put them on your YouTube channel, here's links to the last 3. And then what people are going to feel like is they're getting an update. I'd also put them on your Facebook page as the events, as many as you have coming, because then people can reference it on your Facebook page and on your website as well. So it won't get old if every time they open it, they're seeing the upcoming one, but they can see the next 4. So in the second box, the first one then goes to the top box, and the second one becomes the top row. So you're kind of scrolling them through. That's how I approach that. Always letting people know that you're doing this weekly with different subjects. The top box explaining the one that's coming up, and then on the bottom, if you've recorded them, or even if you don't record them, I would say here's subjects that we've covered. Contact me for more information if you want to learn about those topics. This way people continuously see you as a thought leader. Yes, is it okay to recycle the same themes then quarterly, even though they were recorded and posted? Great question. So the best way to think about it is, should you do the same Zoom call or the same webinar quarterly, monthly? Thinking about your audience, not everyone may be able to sign up at that moment for that content. If it's evergreen topic and it's great content, I think quarterly, you could probably do the same one monthly. I'm doing how to write effective emails. It seems like once a month now. I'm getting close to 100 people to sign up every month for that one. It's a great webinar. It really goes into detail on how to create effective emails. This one is also very good. I might do this one every couple months because subject lines are a hot topic. So I would say I'd recycle the same ones at a cadence that you find works. Quarterly would be great. I know that there's a financial planner out there who does the same topic once a week. They do it once a month, every month, the same topic, because that's sort of their evergreen topic, and they kind of recycle the same thing because they get different. They keep advertising, and people have a chance or don't have a chance to come. So absolutely, I'd recycle the same themes at least quarterly, with the idea that not everyone can attend. If you have a YouTube channel, I think you just need to record it that one time and then put that on the YouTube channel. You don't really have to record it every single time. Do I do the same topic So yeah, so this is a big trend in webinars. The question is, do you do the same topic even though it is recorded and posted because people want to attend live? So there's a big trend the last probably 18 months to 24 months in marketing where webinars happen, people sign up, and they're going to schedule time on their own calendar to watch it. So when it goes on the YouTube channel or what have you, or they have access to the recording, and they're they're signing up for the sake of being able to watch it later on their own schedule. Now, other people want live interaction and be able to talk to the person. So what I've done often is I've recorded one version of the webinar, and then I give the same one again because I get a lot of live questions that are different from others. So, some people want to attend and get their questions answered because, if you have a good presenter and, if you're doing it weekly, it's clear that you are a good presenter. I'd say having it live, people want to keep talking with you and keep the dialogue going because you're a subject matter expert. But people do want to attend live, but there is a growing movement of people registering and waiting for that link. So I would definitely do live and then record it once. You could record it multiple times, but essentially letting people know in that recording you're available for for a consultation or a discussion. Can you say something about subject lines of what SM posts? What is that? What do you have there? Can you say something? Social media. Can you say something about subject lines of social media posts? Do the same sort of rules apply? Okay, so great question. One way I look at social media whenever I'm advising clients is because everybody wants to know how to go viral. Everybody wants to know, how can I get 500, people to look at it for free advertising? Well, those days have kind of left us because the Facebook algorithms and Instagram and LinkedIn, they've kind of rigged the game so that we have to, they want us to do paid advertising. But with social media, you get more chances to get in front of people. So you can try some of the same techniques. The numbers, the top 5 this, top 3 that, should always work on any type of content. I've written content for people all over the world. That always tends to be something people look at because people think in numbers and they know they're going to get 3 tips or 3 ways. For social media posts, I think it's a little bit more Wild West. I would say you can try. Don't ever think of failure in social media. I advise people to think about you've gone through social media. Keep trying, and see what clicks with engagement. And I'll give you an example. I have a real estate client who we do straight social media videos, straight social media posts. And then I threw in a video that looked and felt and had 80s music, 80 logos. And all of it was about the 1980s. And we said something to the effect, the 80s called, they want their house back, you should upgrade. Well, that one went very high in engagement. And the others, not so much. And he at first was very hesitant, did not want to try that. But I said, look, we're posting, 3 to 5 times a week. It's okay to take chances. It's okay to take risks. And I'd say on social media, take some chances, take some risks, follow some of these guidelines, but don't be afraid to fail because, you're hopefully posting with significant heft and weight enough times that you can see what's working. So do I do webinar for social media posts? I have some content, and I'm looking at August subjects right now for webinars. I also am a partner with Grow with Google at the Chamber, so we have access to Google content about data analytics and YouTube and others. So I had a YouTube one that I did, which was very good. I'm going to consider my August, and then when I send out the newsletter / email that I send out, I may end up doing one for social media. What I can do, if you want to email me, I sent it out in a prior month. I have all the times and all the times and days of the week that are best to post on social media to get the highest engagement. So Sprout Social did a study, and they are one of those, you can schedule your posts. So what they've done is they looked at everybody who posts through Sprout and found out the best times to post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and they've given you the dates of the week and the times of the day, and that to help grow your engagement and to see when things do best. If you're interested, I can send you that. It's an Excel sheet. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to use, and that might give you some assistance on that as well. So I will probably do something on social media. Maybe it'll be next month. I have to develop those topics. So But if you want to, anybody wants to have a conversation about it offline for an hour or so, I have a lot of conversations with people. That doesn't mean you're going to become a client. That doesn't mean you're going to pay me for anything. I just, I spread the word of marketing as much as I can. So for social media posting, talking about SEO photos, that's a great question. SEO for photos, linking to others, posting others' content on your page, and using stock versus custom photos. So let me jump in real quick on that, on SEO for social SEO on your website and the idea of photos and PDFs, just to kind of give some information on that. So when you're doing your search engine optimization, and that's when Google and those guys are looking for certain words and they're looking for the content on your site, Google, Bing, Yahoo, remember that they do not use, they don't read PDFs and they don't look at photos, right? Now they will look at the photo caption. They will look at, if there's any text around the photo, above the photo, but not in the photo. So what happens, a lot of people are putting out photos with text on them, thinking that it's going to get read, but Google and Bing and Yahoo, they can't read a photo and they can't read a PDF, but they can read the title of the PDF. So photos in general, there's a lot of free, there's Whiplash, Pixabay, Constant Contact comes with stock photos. Canva, if you don't have Canva, get a Canva account. A lot of free photos out there that are high quality, excellent photography. I'd suggest getting a hold of those. Now, but when you're going for SEO and backlinks and all of that, that's the stuff that counts. So your SEO, you want it to be reflective of what's on the page, and don't keyword stuff. And if you're subscribing to GoDaddy or Wix, there's usually a text box on each page that you can add your search engine optimization phrases. With WordPress, it's a little different, but on your social media posts, it's reading the headline and it's reading the text. Make it about whatever topic you're talking about. You should be in good shape. The SEO on the website and your blog, what's going to increase your search engine optimization for your website is going to be, you want to post periodically on your website as a blog to keep it updated, because it's looking for fresh content. And ideally have a blog post that's about 1,800 words. That's kind of a standard. You don't have to do that every week or every month, but get a couple of real solid chunky posts in there, because Google has kind of, Google doesn't release their algorithms, but they do tend to favor some long posts, some long content. So does Facebook look at the photo name like a web crawler does for SEO website ranking? Facebook their algorithms are going to look at the content. So if you have that photo that's called something on the bottom, again, it has to be in your text, or it has to be in your headline. They're not necessarily looking for the photo, but what they will do, Facebook's algorithm is also looking for engagement. So, and how you've engaged with that person before, which is why sometimes you see the same people coming up, because you've been engaging with them and the topic. So Facebook's got a whole algorithm, sort of like Google, where the things that are engaged most are going to be shown most. The things that are going to be, and there's some, the things that are going to be on topic for people who are searching are going to appear most. And the people that get those likes and those comments, that tends to tell Facebook and LinkedIn and others, this is a topic that people are starting to look at and become interested in, so we have to keep showing it. We have to keep getting it out there. So that's why when everyone says, you hear these influencers who are 12 to 15, 20 years old, make sure you like, comment, and share my post. It's because it does make a difference. So you want to bring that to the forefront. The photo names is going to be part of that, what they're looking for as far as trying to boost your content, and the website also. So, but again, you got to be careful. You don't want to put too much stock in your photos in terms of they're going to help you with your SEO as much as you want your photo to look good. And Canva, Canva.com, Pixabay, Whiplash, all free photo services. GoDaddy has stock photos now. Wix, as a web builder, has stock photos now. So there's a lot available. If you can do custom photos, if you want to, one thing to think about for custom photos, people who are interacting with your business want to know more about your business and products. So I always tell people with social media posts, email marketing, take an employee and profile them and tell them about their hobbies, why they like working for you, nonprofits especially. Humanize the business with people, because those are stories people are interested in. So when you get to custom photos, really make them count. If it's going to be, if you're going to send that, if you have a restaurant and you want to send out a picture of your food, tell people what's in it. Tell why people like it, the origins of some of the food that are in there, why those ingredients are being used, where they're from. That's the kind of story that people want to hear. So to get Facebook engagement, if you yourself are not a huge content writer, can you bring up engagement and ranking by linking to other relevant articles, even if they are not recent? Okay, great question. So we cover this in How to Write Great Emails. You can definitely, so there's a couple of theories on social media content. One of them, and email content as well, you can definitely reference a third party, right, to link to their sources. And that may very well help your engagement, and it'll certainly, the engagement you get on that post, if it's high, it does count. So in other words, there was an article today about how hot the real estate market is in the greater Detroit area, which is where I live. So I will put that on the realtor who I work with on his social media page. And I'm banking on, obviously, that, hey, the Detroit News thought it was a good idea. It's a hot topic. He's a realtor. It should be a good mix. We should get some good engagement, and we should up our ranking and engagement. And we did this last time, and it did prove to be effective. There was another article when the real estate market opened up in Detroit about the market taking off, and we did put that on a social media feed. It did increase his ranking. It did increase all the metrics. So definitely want to use third-party sources. It will help, and there's no copyright as long as you're putting the link in and referencing it. If you do that, though, in email or social media, I highly recommend, it's almost mandatory, that you say something about it. So for instance, this article will say there's home prices are going up, but inventory is low. So we'll make sure we put a comment on there that says, if you're interested in, now's the best time. There's been no better time really in recent months to put your home for listing. You get time to maximize your value. Contact us today. So get that call to action in there and have an opinion and say something about the article. It should increase your engagement. And again, you'll get to know that as you go. I put in my the Sprout article on social media in my email monthly, and that thing had, I think it was a 65% open rate and a huge click rate, because it was a topic that was relevant to a lot of people who come to these webinars with me. What is the best time to post on LinkedIn? What time, what date, what can I do to increase my engagement? So the answer is yes. So I think, any more questions, please bring them up. I want to make sure I've covered, I think we've covered, I think just about all of them. And again, we'll have another webinar. I'm trying to pick the topics. There's a couple, Grow with Google, which is all Google content. Generally, I've been providing content from two sources, Constant Contact and Google. That'll be up there. So any other questions about websites or content generation? I do a lot of content generation for people. If you have questions on how to make great content or how to get your content noticed, again, there is a sweet spot. If you want, you should have maybe on your website at least one, maybe two 1,800 word posts. That's Google, and there's some other marketing experts that recommend that. So there's a lot of theories on content, but that's a big one. Video is great as well. If you can get some video going and some comments. People like to engage with video and like to see video. So I think we've got about 5 minutes left. Appreciate everybody's feedback. And again, if you have questions, you can, after every webinar, I usually get a few people who just want to kind of talk about some of the marketing things that they've been trying, see if there's any way I can give them advice on how to improve that. And it's all about the dialogue. It doesn't, again, you don't have to pay me for that. It's not necessarily it's more of a discovery session. If there's something I can do, or a free tool, if you're having an issue that I can help you with. If you have any questions on Constant Contact product, I'm trained there. There is a month trial, 45-day trial that's free. Recommend looking at that trial, if for no other reason to understand the tool because it has evolved quite a bit. It's a mostly drag and drop now, which is very easy to use. In the past, Constant Contact was not a big drag and drop, but now it's very easy to use, as are things like Wix, GoDaddy, Facebook advertising, that they've got a whole manual that they publish that you can take videos and learn about. Google AdWords and Google the same thing. And if you're interested in, getting some training and you want to know more about Facebook advertising, I can point you in the direction on that and just kind of, again, get you up to speed or share with you what I know. I'm very transparent about how you can do things on your own, because there are a lot of do-it-yourself ways now that you can get up to speed more quickly than in past years. And most of what we do now in marketing, you could probably do on your own, and that's encouraging. So without any more questions, this will be posted on the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. I will put a link to it in my next email that I send out to everybody. And you can have this presentation and any of the other presentations. The question was, can I have the presentation? You just need to email me, so I have your email address, vito@consultvito.com. It's right down here, and I'll flip that around to you. You'll have a PDF of the presentation, and I'll have this video will be posted probably the next week or so on the Chamber website. And if you're interested in joining the Chamber, please give us a call. Email me, and we'll get you signed up. But anybody on this call who would like this presentation, or if there's another topic you see on the Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel, I have those presentations as well. I have one about YouTube, one about Google Analytics. We have one about how to write effective emails. And the Google Analytics one, I suggest if you're interested in that topic, I can kind of walk you through some of that. Everybody should have that product on their website. It is free. It'll give you information about age, gender. It'll tell you about the hobbies of people on your website, which pages are performing well, which may need some help. It is, again, that's a free product. You just need a Gmail address. So lots of information. Appreciate everybody's time. Again, go ahead, email me. We'll get you the information. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. We're coming up at the hour, so I do want to make sure I respect everybody's time. And again, just give me a call or email me for the slides, or if you have any questions. And hope everyone has a fantastic day. We'll see you in August with a couple of new topics, or some of the older topics that people have really found informational. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for all the feedback.